Some women seem invincible until they meet a man who's done playing games, a man who isn't impressed by a tiny waist or an Instagram full of filters, because there's something no young woman can hide from a mature man who's seen it all, her vulnerabilities. And I'm not talking about visible flaws. I'm talking about psychological cracks, emotional voids, wounds she doesn't yet know how to name, but that you can spot and leverage to your advantage. Most men chase after these women, but you, if you grasp what I'm about to reveal, will have them chasing after you. Because in this video, I'll uncover the 7 weaknesses every young woman inevitably reveals when faced with a genuinely mature man. And I'll warn you right now, the last one leaves her completely defenseless. I'm Celia. I'm not here to flatter you. I'm here to teach you to look beyond makeup and sweet talk. Because if you don't understand what's behind her beauty, you'll end up at her mercy instead of becoming the man she can't stop thinking about. Have you ever felt a young woman challenging you with her eyes while secretly trembling on the inside? Has she ever teased, provoked, tested you while poorly hiding her true feelings behind a facade? If you haven't noticed it yet, it's because you've missed the first crucial point of this video: insecurity masked as arrogance. A young woman feeling insecure doesn't shrink away. She doesn't hide. She doesn't lower her head like a submissive puppy. Quite the opposite, she inflates herself. She puts on higher heels, straightens her hair, raises her voice, gathers digital attention, and acts like the queen of a world she doesn't truly understand. She's the type who walks into a room and doesn't greet anyone, who looks down her nose at others, who blatantly ignores you, waiting for you to surrender first. But this superiority act is just a poorly constructed defense. Because inside, she has no clue who she is. She only knows she wants to be noticed. She needs to feel desired. Something inside tells her that if you don't choose her, she's worthless. Here's where you can stand apart from the crowd. While younger men desperately chase her, you can learn to disarm her without touching her, without shouting, without falling into her trap. Simply by your presence, your calm, your ability to see beyond the character she's playing. A young woman doesn't expect this. She's not prepared for a man who remains unaffected by her arrogance, because her confidence is borrowed, it's plastic armor. And when you, with your controlled energy and silent observation, render her act useless, she begins to doubt herself, you, everything. That's when the real conquest begins, the moment she can no longer sustain her role. I remember a patient of mine, about 24 years old. She played the femme fatale. She'd enter my office like it was a runway, talking about her admirers, how men begged for her attention, and how she decided who was worthy. But all it took was one session in which I didn't validate her story. Just one simple question: who are you when no one's looking? And she broke down crying like a lost little girl. All that arrogance dissolved instantly. Because it wasn't arrogance, it was fear. Fear of being worthless without desire. Fear of aging. Fear of not being enough for a man who isn't blinded by superficial beauty. You're not here to chase young women. You're here to read them, to see what they can't even see themselves. And if you can detect this disguised insecurity, don't lower yourself to soothe it. Don't play her game. Do the opposite. Remain firm. Because when a mature man doesn't fall for a young woman's arrogance, she doesn't know whether to hate him or love him. But she can't ignore him. And that, my friend, is the first crack through which your influence begins to seep. If a young woman crumbles internally when her arrogance fails to sway you, it's because you've activated something deeper than her ego. You've touched her inner need for approval. And that's exactly where we reach the second key point of this video: her constant craving for validation. It doesn't matter how much she denies it, how often she claims self-love, or how many empowering quotes she shares. A young woman lives craving validation, not from anyone, but from a man who neither idolizes her nor ignores her completely. This desire isn't superficial, it's existential. A young woman's sense of self is still forming. She hasn't yet experienced profound betrayal, hasn't hit rock bottom, hasn't discovered who she is without praise. That's why she clings to the likes, the compliments, the unexpected messages. And that's why an older man can become irresistible without ever uttering sweet words, because he doesn't offer what everyone else freely gives. He doesn't provide what she seeks. Instead, he reveals what she lacks: internal direction. Stoicism explains it well. Epictetus once said, "True freedom begins when we stop relying on the judgments of others." But a young woman isn't there yet. Her worth still depends on the reactions she sparks in people around her. That's why, if you indulge her by showering her with compliments, chasing her, validating every gesture, you not only lose your power, you harm her. You're reinforcing an image of herself that's fragile, borrowed, built entirely on external approval. She might claim she needs no one, yet if a full day passes without a single notification, her world shakes. Here's where you, as an older man, can make a difference. Not by being cruel, nor by ignoring her, but by showing her that desire isn't earned with likes. Respect isn't freely given. Your attention comes with a price: authenticity, presence, genuine femininity, not a performed version. When she senses you're not there to inflate her ego but to see her soul, she begins to shift. She starts seeking you, not for your approval, but to understand why you don't need her, and that lights her up more than any compliment ever could. Many men believe seducing a young woman is about saying the right things. It's not. It's about holding firm when she tries to pull you into her game with her need for validation, because if you become another fan, she'll forget you. But if you're the one man who doesn't succumb, she'll remember you. She'll come back, not for your money, not for your body, but for what you represent. The masculine figure who doesn't crack under her need, because he's already conquered his own. That's the validation she truly craves. And that's something, my friend, only you can provide, once you no longer need it yourself. Now you understand that a young woman is insecure even when she seems like a goddess, and that her biggest addiction isn't sex or luxury, but your validation. But if validation sustains her emotionally, there's something deeper at the root that leaves her completely disarmed. We've reached the third point of this video, and here's where things really begin to shift: the emotional void she still doesn't understand. Behind every impulsive comment, every rash decision, every party-filled night she proudly posts as if celebrating something, there's a hidden wound she doesn't yet know how to name. If you can read this, you stop competing and start influencing. This emptiness isn't obvious. She won't reveal it through tears. Instead, it hides behind her constant craving for attention, her emotional instability, her endless contradictions. Today, she wants something serious. Tomorrow, she disappears. She seeks you out, then avoids you, desires you, then blocks you. And you're left wondering what's going on. The answer is simple: she doesn't know. Because she hasn't yet found the language to describe her pain. She hasn't experienced enough failure to handle it maturely. So she covers it up with tight clothes, filters, sarcasm, and indifference. But you, as a mature man with clarity, can show her something no one else has: presence without judgment. Here's the strategy. Don't get caught up in her chaos. Don't explain her feelings. Don't play therapist. Just offer stable presence. When she rises, you stay grounded. When she falls, you don't drop with her. You're the center that never shifts. Because that's what she needs most and expects least. It's not about saying everything will be okay. It's about demonstrating through your energy that you've walked through that same emptiness and survived. This confronts her. She's accustomed to men who bend to her emotional whims. But if you hold steady, you teach her a life lesson without speaking a single word. Let me give you a clear example. Imagine you're with her. She's having a rough day, irritable, short-tempered, sarcastic. Most men would desperately ask what's wrong, try to soothe her, or even worse, get offended. But not you. You simply observe. You say calmly, "If you need space, I'm here. But I won't enter your chaos. I've lived there before. I'm not going back." And then you stay, without leaving, without running away, without arguing. That's not coldness. That's emotional power. And a young woman, even if she doesn't immediately understand it, will feel it. She'll surrender. because never before has someone contained her without trying to fix her. Before we move on, pause for a moment. If you feel this video is uncovering truths no one else has dared show you, like it and subscribe right now. Comment below with your country and write just these 4 words: I master the game. Because more truths are coming that will open your eyes, and the last one, trust me, can forever change how you see every woman you meet. If you've learned not to validate her chaos and to hold firm when she spirals, you're on the right track. But there's something subtle that can trip you up, even if you're ahead of the game. It's that moment when, without realizing it, you start believing she needs space, freedom, autonomy, that the best move is to let her be herself, not to limit her or dictate her steps. Right there, in that exact moment, you become just another man. Because a young woman living with an emotional void she doesn't yet understand doesn't need wings, she needs direction. We've reached the 4th key point of this video: her addiction to chaos disguised as freedom. Many mature men, trying to show they're not controlling, fall into this trap. They think being understanding and letting her choose is respectful. It isn't, because beneath that freedom she fiercely defends with painted nails lies an inner chaos desperately seeking a reference point, not to trap her, to steady her. Though she claims to hate boundaries, the truth is, she doesn't know how to live without them. If you don't set clear limits, she'll overflow, she'll lose herself, she'll become self-destructive, and then she'll blame you. Here's where the mistake quietly takes hold. She tells you she needs space, hates labels, and doesn't believe in formal relationships. And instead of reading between the lines, you let your guard down. You give her what she says she wants, room to explore. But when she explores, she doesn't come back. Not because she doesn't want you, but because you indirectly told her you lack direction, leadership, and clarity. You're waiting for her to decide. And when a young woman senses this, desire dies. Feminine desire isn't sparked when she's in charge, it ignites when you take the lead, with quiet strength. Stoicism states it clearly: the wise man isn't someone who adapts to everything, he's someone who chooses when to adapt, and when to stand firm. With a young woman, you must stand firm. Don't ask what she wants, show her what you offer. Don't say everything is okay, tell her your boundaries. If she feels she can move freely without consequence, she won't feel liberated, she'll feel alone. Worse still, she'll seek another who offers direction. Because a young woman without structure becomes a victim of her own emotions. This mistake is devastating because it's subtle at first. You believe you're being wise, understanding, emotionally mature, but in reality, you're surrendering your leadership. You're leaving her alone in her storm. And later, you wonder why she left, why she lost respect, why desire vanished. It wasn't because you suffocated her, it was because you failed to demonstrate that, although she's free, with you, there's a clear path, there's a direction, and that, my friend, isn't discussed, it's felt, and if you don't embody it, someone else will. We've already established that if you don't lead, if you don't set the course, if you become the understanding man who gives space out of respect, you'll end up being the one she forgets while claiming she's figuring things out. But there's something even more dangerous than surrendering leadership, ignoring the power you possess, a power she senses even if you never mention it. We've reached the 5th key point of this video, her vulnerability to emotional power. A power you've developed through years of pain, disappointment, and failure. It's a power that can't be learned from books or faked with sweet words. It's the quiet strength of a man who no longer fears rejection, and that makes him irresistible. A young woman doesn't yet possess this power, and that's why she craves it, why it disarms her. She lives on an emotional roller coaster of impulsive decisions, euphoric days, and empty nights. And when she encounters a man who remains steady, unaffected, unmoved, something inside her breaks. Your composure reminds her of what she hasn't achieved. It shows her another way of living, one free from urgency, drama, or directionless intensity. It reveals stability, and that ignites desire, not because you touch her, but because you surpass her. Yet this is exactly where many men stumble. Instead of preserving that power, they dilute it. They trade it for understanding, kindness, emotional support. At first she was attracted, but now she sees you as a therapist, not as a man. She appreciates you, but no longer desires you, because you confuse strength with softness. Feminine desire, especially in a young woman, isn't sparked by tenderness. It's ignited by presence, by an insightful gaze, by silence that speaks louder than words, by the calm confidence of a man who demands nothing because he's already chosen himself. Failing to grasp this has devastating consequences. You become dependent on her validation. You wait for her to return, to decide, to choose you. But whoever waits, loses. Respect isn't something you beg for. It's something you command through your attitude, clarity, steady voice, and unshakable posture. You want her respect, her admiration, her surrender. But if you don't embody emotional power, she'll leave for the first man who does, even if he's younger, less wealthy, or less experienced, because true power isn't measured by credentials, it's measured by presence, and that can't be faked. Breaking this pattern is possible but uncomfortable. You must stop pleasing, stop explaining yourself, stop needing to be understood. Because a man who seeks understanding has already lost leadership. True change begins when you stop trying to impress her, and instead start asking if she measures up to your standards. Not from arrogance, from self-awareness. Because you're no longer here to chase, you're here to select. When a young woman senses that, she can't help but look at you differently, with eyes of desire, respect, admiration. Finally, she's found a man who doesn't bend, because he has nothing left to prove. He simply exists, and that is precisely what disarms her most. If you've made it this far, then you already understand that emotional power doesn't shout. It's embodied, and that a young woman can resist many things, except the presence of a man who isn't trying to impress her. But there's something deeper, more subtle, more devastating to her ego, when she realizes she doesn't need you, but wants you to need her. And yet, you don't play that game. We've reached the 6th point of this video, and it's her need to be chosen by someone who doesn't need her. Picture it. She walks into a room. Everyone looks at her. Everyone wants her. Everyone tries to impress. And there you are. You see her. You acknowledge her. But you don't flinch. No nervous smile. No line to get her attention. No effort. Just composure. And that throws her off, because she's used to being the prize, to being chased, to being made to feel valuable for being young, beautiful, and provocative. But you don't play that game. You're not part of the circus, and that indifference isn't contempt. It's hierarchy. It's reaching a place in your life where you don't compete, because you've already chosen your worth. Now picture the full scene. She starts seeking your attention, small gestures, glances, subtle comments, but you don't budge, not because you're arrogant, but because you're no longer the kind of man who reacts to every feminine signal. You don't sell out for a smile. You're not swayed by cleavage. You don't fall. And inside, she's shaken. Because for the first time, the power isn't in her hands. It's in yours. And you don't use it to humiliate her. You use it to set yourself apart. To show her that masculine desire, when it matures, doesn't surrender. It selects. This is where many men lose their way. Just when they're winning, they cave. They go back to looking anxiously. They text with urgency. They seek approval again. And everything they built crumbles. Because all she needed was one sign that you still wanted her more than you wanted yourself. And in that moment, you lose. You lose her respect, her attraction, your leadership. Because she only respects the one who doesn't need her. The one who can say, I like you, but you don't define me. And that, my friend, isn't said, it's felt. Most young women won't admit this, but they live it, because their ego wants to be chosen. But their deeper desire wants to be claimed by someone who doesn't need to choose them. She wants to feel that if you look at her, it's because you value her, not because you need her. And that changes everything. Because now you're not just another guy. You're the man who became a mirror. And in that mirror, she no longer sees control. She sees direction. She sees strength. She sees what she doesn't yet have. And that's why, even if she doesn't understand it, she can't stop thinking about you. But if you're still living from need, from emptiness, from the fear of losing her, you'll never get there. You'll remain the man who begs, who gives everything, who bends, and sooner or later, she'll leave. Because no one respects someone who kneels. We respect the one who can admire himself, even when a beautiful woman wants him, because in that moment, you stop competing and start leading. If a young woman can't resist a man who doesn't need her, then she can't hide what comes next. Her surrender to an energy she's never faced before, an energy that doesn't react, doesn't flinch, doesn't compete, an energy that simply is. And with that, we arrive at the seventh and most defining point of this video, her fragility in the presence of a real man. We're no longer talking about tactics or strategies or even female psychology. We're talking about masculine essence, about who you are when no one's watching, about what you radiate when you're not trying to be liked. Because a young woman, even if she knows nothing about philosophy, even if she's never read Jung or heard of Stoicism, can feel. And when she crosses paths with a man who doesn't play games, doesn't perform, doesn't pretend to be anything, but whose mere presence changes the temperature of a room, she breaks. Not with tears, with desire, with confusion, with that brutal mix of attraction and surrender. That real man has nothing to prove, because he's already lived through it all. He's already crawled for a woman, already lost the respect of another, already cried silently, feeling invisible, but he survived. And not just that, he rebuilt himself. And now he walks differently, looks differently, moves with a weight that can't be taught. It's earned. And when she senses it, she can't pretend she doesn't feel it. Because it's not about beauty or youth or how old you are. It's about energy, contained strength, direction, and that she can't manipulate. This is where everything you've learned so far comes together. Because you can spot her insecurity. You can resist feeding her need for validation. You can hold firm in the face of her emptiness. You can set boundaries, show emotional strength, even not need her. But if you don't become that man who commands presence without saying a word, all of it fades. Because respect doesn't come from your words. It comes from your gaze, your center, your ability to stay without begging. From your silence that weighs more than 1,000 lines. And that, my friend, can't be faked. It's trained. It's chosen. Today, you have no more excuses. Because now you know how a young woman behaves when she meets a man who's awakened. Now you understand her weaknesses. But what matters isn't what she feels. It's what you choose to do with that knowledge. You can keep reacting like a boy trapped in his desire. Or you can become the man a young woman respects, desires, and never forgets. Because there's no phrase more powerful than this. I didn't yell, I didn't chase, I didn't beg, and still, she couldn't stop thinking about me. That's the man you can become if you stop looking outside and start lighting the fire within, because she doesn't surrender to your body. She surrenders to your essence, to your decision not to be just another guy, but the only one who won't fold. Because when a real man shows up, the rest disappear, and she knows it, even if she never tells you. If you've made it this far, you're not just any man. You're one of the few who dares to face the truth, raw, unfiltered, unapologetic. Because understanding the weaknesses of a young woman isn't about playing games. It's an act of inner power, of clarity, of emotional hierarchy. And now that you know, there's no going back, because ignorance made you innocent. But now, if you don't act, it only makes you weak. Most can't handle hearing this. They check out in the first few minutes, offended, in denial. But not you. You stayed, because something inside you is ready to stop pleasing and start leading. That's why I want you to comment below with one sentence. I'm the one in charge. And tell me what country you're watching from. Because this community is built by men from across Latin America who refuse to be used, ignored, or tamed. I'm Celia, woman, psychologist, and therapist. And this is your house of wisdom. I'm not here to entertain you. I'm here to give you back something you lost: your presence, your energy, your direction as a man. That's what this channel is for, to shake you, to wake you up, to remind you that you're not here to beg. You're here to choose, to become the man who doesn't need to explain himself, but who no one forgets. Subscribe now, not out of habit, but by choice, because joining this community means you've stopped lying to yourself. And share this video with that friend who's still caught up in the beauty of a young woman, not realizing he's already lost her respect. You could be the mirror that wakes him up. And don't leave just yet. Watch the 2 videos that are about to appear on screen. Pick the one that makes you most uncomfortable. Because right there, in the place you don't want to look, lies the truth you most need to hear. I'll see you there.